Book Club. It is Monday night, and I am absolutely thrilled to have AK Turner with us tonight to talk about Cassie Raven. Welcome, Ali. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Show off this gorgeous book cover and tell us a little bit about Deadfall.
Okay, so here is Deadfall. She's in the picture, great. And I think we're going to talk about the covers later, right? So I'll just talk about the book. So the book is the fourth in the Cassie Raven series. Now, Cassie Raven is, for those who don't know her, a kind of goth girl, mortuary technician who has a very edgy Camden Town look, because the mortuary set in Camden. So she's got the tats, she's got the piercing, she's got the punky gothy hair, and unlike me, and she's someone with despite the kind of challenging experience, she's someone who has a very, very close bond with the dead. She loves the dead who are in her care. She feels responsible for them on this journey they're taking from life and not yet to their funeral, to their cremation. They're in this kind of halfway house. So she talks to them as though they're alive. She treats them as people. And now and again, she gets the sense of what might have happened to them. And people have said, oh, does that mean it's a supernatural series? No, because you can easily read it that she has worked it out, because she's a bit of a Sherlock. You can read it that she's worked it out from the little clues that she's picked up. Because what people perhaps don't necessarily know is that mortuary technicians are highly trained. They're called anatomical technology pathology technologists, and they spend more time with the body than anyone else. They check the bodies in. This is in non-forensic post-mortems, but for a routine post-mortem, you've dropped dead at home, you haven't been to the doctor for months, nobody knows what's happened, you will get a routine post-mortem. Now, in that case, the mortuary technician is the one who will check you in, look after you, will eviscerate, will open your body, take the organs out for the pathologist, deliver them to his dissection bench, put them back in, sew them up, and more importantly, they are the ones who deal with the families. So families will come in to view the dead loved one, often to the mortuary, especially if it's a sudden death and they're obviously very, very upset. And the pathologist in this case might come in and do 8 postmortems in a row that will take about 40 minutes each. So they are not doing a forensic postmortem. So it is entirely feasible from my research that a mortuary technician might pick something up from talking to the family, or from something they spot during the evisceration. And incidentally, the reason probably she's so engaged is that she, like my real life mortuary technician, Barbara Peters, has told me, it's not the opening of the bodies that's the tough thing for them, because once you've done 100 of those, you go into autopilot when you open a body. It's dealing with the families, dealing with the bereaved, is emotionally very tough.
There was an interesting bit actually where you talk, I wish I'd have written the line down now. You talk about how there's sometimes kind of a closeness, kind of the whole therapist and patient kind of thing, where you develop this rush of affection, not necessarily a romantic thing, but certainly that closeness, that person who has guided you through that moment, answered your questions, maybe held your hand for a moment, or had that, you're gonna have, in my experience, of a lasting bond with that person. And I love the detail of that in these books.
Yeah, no, I think it's the Cassie being a very caring person as well. When she meets the bereaved, she's like really good at dealing with them. She's done courses, which mortuary technicians do, to deal with the bereaved and what to say and what not to say. And so she does develop relationships with these people, and these people feel a kind of instant intimacy from this massively important part of their life, dealing with the mortuary tech.
Now, we do also, we will talk about Cassie, who I am just more than a little in love with, let's be honest. We will talk about Cassie Raven, but Phyllida
I should
Flight,
talk about this, shouldn't I?
we should, we
I
really
forgot-
should.
forgot
So,
to talk about this and all of that. Shall I rewind and say what this one's about?
yeah, go on.
Okay.
We veered off track, which we knew we would. We've so much to discuss.
Yeah. So Deadfall's the fourth in the series. We've met Cassie in the previous 3 books, and we've learnt about her bond with the dead. We've learnt that it possibly comes from the fact that she was brought up an orphan from the age of 4 by her grandmother, that made her develop this bond, this sensitivity to death and to dead people. This book is another case where someone comes into her mortuary that she knows, and it is her former classmate called Bronte. That's her stage name, because she's a rising star in the singer-songwriter mode. Camden is a very famous place for gigs and music, one of the biggest, probably the biggest collection of musical venues in London, and it goes right back to to beyond punk, but that's when it became really famous. That, you know, bands like the Clash, the Stranglers, the Pistols, Blondie, Susie, they all played Camden. And so it established itself as a music venue, and it still is. So Ray, who's a fantastic, you know, contemporary artist, played there recently. So it carries on like that. And so Cassie actually wasn't friends with Bronte at school. In fact, there was a difficult relationship, and that is what makes Cassie feel like, I've got to do right by this ex-classmate who I feel a bit guilty about from school. And so Cassie gradually kind of doesn't buy what the police are saying, which is that this girl, this 27-year-old woman, threw herself off her balcony, her posh new balcony on the canal side in Camden, because she was miserable. And Cassie just goes, why would someone do that on the very brink of stardom? And so she gradually unpicks what might have happened through the course of the book, assisted by Phyllida Flight, who's her cop love-hate relationship cop frenemy, who is now working for the police investigations, the IOPC, the Independent Office of Police Complaints. And she is the only one who takes Cassie's doubts about the death seriously, because she knows that Cassie's kind of hyper-intuitive and picks stuff up that other people miss. So yeah, that pretty much sums it up, I think.
It does, without giving anything away. So well done.
Yeah, I was careful about that. Oh, and I should have said, it's like it's not based on Amy Winehouse, completely different story to Amy, but it's kind of in that mold, in the sense that this woman, Bronte, dies at 27. She joins the 27 club of, you know, troubled artists, from Kurt Cobain to Amy Winehouse, who died at that age from drink or drugs or suicide or whatever.
There is a little bit where you do kind of touch on, you mull over whether Bronte's going to have a similar fate. You know, there's a couple taking a selfie in front of a big painted mural in the book, and you do kind of, you wonder, you know, about all of these young people who've been chewed up and spat out by the industry, and kind of it just made me think that you have a really good way of cutting through the noise and just kind of getting to the heart of things when you're writing, and comparing Bronte to, you know, Amy, that she's now going to end up feeling like more of a brand than a person. I thought that was it was a really lovely point in the story, because that kind of is what happens. And it's a sad thing. It's lovely that people are remembered, but it's a really sad thing when it's kind of as part of a brand and not for who they are. And I like that echo that you used with Bronte.
Yeah. No, it is a problem because I mean I was an absolutely massive Amy Winehouse fan, and you do feel you have this kind of ersatz intimacy with people because you've loved their music.
Yeah.
I'd hung out in Camden a lot, so I knew. I went to the Hawley Arms where Amy used to drink. You do really, really feel it when they die, but it can go a little bit too far. And I think the internet and social media has massively amplified that process, that people then go on to feel like they sort of own a piece of this person when they don't even know them. And it's certainly true in Camden, that Camden has, the Amy is a brand in Camden, and that makes me feel slightly uncomfortable. And and Cassie reflects on that because she, knew Bronte, the real person, and doesn't want her to be. She's already been all over the tabloids because she had, the dodgy boyfriend, the drink and the drugs, the paparazzi snapping her. And Cassie hates the fact that the press have already started calling her Tragic Bronte. And she's going she's going to be Tragic Bronte forever now. She's not going to be the girl I knew at school or anyone in her own right. She's just like, oh, another tragic woman who's bought it.
There's a music shop run by Bob. I can't think off the top of my head of the name of the music shop. But,
Honest Bob's. It's called Honest Bob's.
Honest Bob's, of course it is. I really liked him because he's somewhere in that kind of awkward thing of want to keep Bronte's memory alive and remember for who she was, but at the same time knows that now's the time to cash in. So he's very likable, and he knows who he is and what he's doing, and he's honest about it. But it must be a weird kind of juxtaposition for people who live in an area. Somebody's got a huge mural painted on the side of the house is one thing. You've got probably the pubs, like you said, if a musician has frequented a pub. It must be it's quite a dicey thing to balance, isn't it?
Yeah, it's strange. And of course all these silly legends grow up, like Amy was supposed to have drunk a cocktail called Rixtasy, which was, I can't remember, some vile concoction involving Baileys. And of course that's now reproduced all over the internet, but apparently it's total rubbish.
Never heard of that.
No, well, you haven't missed much, but
no.
Yeah, that's what she's meant to have drunk in the Hawley, but I think she just drank pints, really. She's just an ordinary North London gal. But anyway, I shouldn't be suggesting that Bronte is Amy, because she's not. She's
no, definitely not.
Different era, different background, different what happened to her and everything.
Yeah. We've got quite a few hellos, so hello to everyone who's watching. And Alex is saying, love the series, great books and characters.
Great.
So that's nice. It's a good start, isn't it?
Yeah, because I mean, for me, a lot of books, it seems to me, especially perhaps in the last 10 or 15 years, have been absolutely about plot. And look, everyone loves a great plot, don't they? Twisty, turny, shocks, blah, 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 and a great reveal at the end. And of course, every crime writer is aiming for that. But sometimes it's felt in the last few years, it's, that's sort of been enough to sell a book to a publisher. And for me, I've always got the much more traditional view of crime fiction. Really good crime fiction relies on three things: plot, yes, but also setting, having a really compelling setting that you really feel is part of the story, but above all, character. And to me, plot comes out of character. You don't just like dream up, oh, that'd be a good twist. It has to come out of the character and the setting that you're dealing with. And I think that's true of writers. Not that I'm comparing myself, but that's what I always loved about Ray Chandler and Dashiell Hammett, that you really, really had a sense of the characters and the place.
Alex has said, having read all of your books, I'm fascinated where you came up with the term guests for the bodies. Now, I had written something that will come to my bit. We'll take Alex's question first. So to anyone who doesn't know that yet, who hasn't found your... I love this series. I just think these books are fantastic and the characters are amazing. For anyone who hasn't discovered you yet, guests are how Cassie refers to the people in the mortuary. You know, she talks to people, she connects with them, she tells them what she's doing.
Yeah.
She really takes her time to, whether it's making herself comfortable or trying to make the aura of the person comfortable, she's very respectful. So why did you decide to use the term guests?
I honestly can't remember. It's probably quite a long time since I first referred to the bodies as guests. It may be that my mortuary technician, or one of my mortuary technicians that I spoke to, referred to them as such. They certainly, Barbara, my absolutely main contact, it was always very much, you'd have to treat the bodies with absolute respect and almost as though they are still alive. So the kind of guests thing comes naturally from that. Also, it might have been because when they refer to, sometimes in fact, the council are the ones who pay for every night in the mortuary. So if your body goes into the mortuary, the council is paying bed and breakfast. And I think they obviously don't eat the breakfast, but that's the sort of slang term for a stay in a mortuary. You know, how many days bed and breakfast is this one? Are we charging the council for this person? So it may well have come from that, you know, this idea of bed and breakfast and their guests.
I do like it when this happens, where the lab techs, mortuary assistants, whoever it is, when they have conversations, because that's, even if the person isn't physically giving them the other side, it's such an important detail, because I think it takes the sting of the situation out a little bit for the reader as well. Obviously, if it's a real situation, it's going to take the sting out a bit.
True, and I want people to go away knowing that, you hear few horror stories about mortuaries, but the vast majority of mortuary technicians, okay, then it might not be corpse whispering like Cassie, but they, do treat the bodies with huge respect and respect their physical integrity, their all the rest of it. And the reason I want to show that is to reassure people that if your mom or dad or whoever has to have a post-mortem, it will be done in a very correct and respectful way. And I can't remember if I might have said this last year, so forgive me if it's a repeat, but the nicest thing anyone ever said to me at a festival where I was doing a panel it was in France, and a lady in the audience said, and it was translated for me, her question or comment as it was, and she said, "Reading your books has made me less frightened of death." And I thought, job done. I'm out of here. I don't have to write any more books now.
We talked about this a little bit that before we came online, and now I can't find where I've put it. Talking about the facts that I'll just read it exactly as I read it to you before we went online. Crime fiction, death, deceit, darkness. You treat death with respect. The facts become just that, the practical aspect of a natural process. And there's something loudly beautiful about that. It's not done quietly and subtler. You do it in such a beautiful way, but it seems like that's done with tenderness on purpose. Was that your intent?
You mean my description is done with tenderness? Yeah, I suppose so, because I write in the close third person as much as I can, which means that when you're in Cassie's chapters, you're hearing Cassie, and so if she's tender with the bodies, then that's coming across in her point of view, in her chapters. And so I was really just reflecting what I'd learned from mortuary technicians about how they deal with the bodies, and I think there is a certain amount of tenderness, and Cassie's just a sort of extreme version of the kind and caring mortuary technician.
There's so much that we could talk about with this series. So I want to go back to what you said earlier about covers. So we've got book 1, Body Language, and we've got Life Sentence was book 2, Case Sensitive was the last one that me and you discussed, and then Deadfall. And you were saying that there's going to be some changes.
Yeah, that's right. I stupidly don't have one of the older ones to hand, but maybe it's a bit confusing. The first 3 books were sort of graphical images of mortuary instruments on a whatever, a background, and then with dead flowers, dead leaves, that sort of thing. So a kind of juxtaposition of things that indicate death with these instruments. So quite arty, quite beautiful. But the publisher just felt after 3 years, Bookworld moves very quickly, and felt that they were looking slightly out of date now, and they wanted a new look. And so they wanted to go for this. Let me just put it right up there. So I'm really keen on. I'm not very good at this, am I? There you go.
Let me hold mine up so we can see you and you can talk.
Okay, fine. You hold yours up. Oh, but that's the proof. That's the proof.
That's the proof, so it's slightly different.
Okay. So anyway, have a good look at that, folks. So what this is now is, and I think it works really well, is it's got a little bit of punky edge to it. You see the splodges of pink, and the fact that it's that kind of neon pink against a very dark and brooding sky, and what is obviously a Camden style backdrop, is just kind of gives the vibe of what the book's about, a bit more than artistic but graphic design. So, and I'm delighted to say, because I don't know if you folks know, but the book world in the UK is crazy. In France, more than 50% of books are sold through independent bookshops.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's because they support the price of books in France, which means books are expensive, but it means that independent bookshops have a chance, because you can't discount a book for a year. We've gone completely the other way, the American model, where you can discount a book straight away on Amazon, and that means that the really big players have a massive advantage over independent bookshops. So if you can afford to buy your books from independent bookshops, is the line. But what was I going to say? Completely lost my thread. What were we talking about?
We're talking about the changes to the covers, and then how it's different in France.
Okay, so now I remember now. So the big thing in the UK is to get your books into Tesco. Okay. That is the most. So the supermarkets, primarily Tesco being, I think, the one who takes the biggest number of books, and Amazon are where it's all at. Independent bookshops, a very, very small part of that equation. And Body Language got into Tesco and sold very, very well. But Tesco then cut the number of new titles they took every month in half. And so we didn't get books 2 and 3 in Tesco, but they have taken Deadfall. So they like the book, and I think part of that is that they love the cover, that it jumps out. And I don't know about what people out there think. I'd love to know, but certainly for me, I think if I go looking for a book in a bookshop, the cover is what jumps out. So for me, it's primarily cover, then the blurb on the back, and then the first paragraph or two.
I think I like a good title, and all 4 of yours are excellent titles. I would pick them up based on the title alone. I really like the first 3 covers. I thought you'd kind of gone with, a series, but a trilogy within a series. So I thought the first 3 books were going to have the medically themed, the instruments on the table and things like that. And then maybe you'd have something different for the next 3. Because there are authors, doing really well with that. Daniel Morgan Green, his covers are kind of a trilogy for each one, and it's a long-running series. And I think it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, that is a brilliant idea.
But I also really like what they've done with Deadfall, so I can see why changing the covers might seem like a good point.
Pleased with it, and they're now rejacketing all the previous titles. So they've been sending covers back and forth to me to say, what do you think of this for Body Language and Case Sensitive and Life Sentence? And they all lend themselves to that. So obviously might be a long time before the printed editions get rejacketed, but they're already getting rejacketed probably on Amazon online, digital versions.
suppose there's so many kind of things that the readers don't think, as readers, we don't think about, that go into the process, and how you think that, you know, once it's got a cover and a title, that's it, your book's out there. But actually things change. People go with new publishers and maybe even re-edit a book. You know, there's so many things to consider.
Yeah,
like
and even the process
isn't hard enough.
Sorry.
Like writing a book isn't hard enough.
Yeah, absolutely. People think like you write a book and you hand it over to the publisher and, you know, go down the pub, but sadly not. I take about 10 months to research, because there's a lot of research, as we discussed before. Couple of months research, you know, forensics, anatomy, all the rest of it. And then the 10 months is the first draft. Then that goes to your agent, who then has a reader look at it and heads off any major issues, because you don't want the publisher to have to look at it too many times. Then I re-edit it. Then I send it to the publisher. Then she sends it back with her. My editor sends it back with her comments. And then there's another few weeks' work addressing her comments. And then you have a copy edit and 2 proofreads, all of which is basically comes back to the author for their checking. So there's many more weeks involved there. And then, then there's like, what do you think of this cover design? What do you think of this title? What about, I write the blurb. This isn't the publisher who writes the blurb. Generally, it's the with input from the publisher. So it's kind of never ending. And then you think you've got it all done, and then you have to do, you know, go on Twitter and do all the embarrassing shouting about your upcoming book.
Easier, surely, when people love the books as much as they love yours.
Well, look, I mean, there is nothing nicer. Sitting in front of a laptop for 10 months, 7 hours a day for 5 days a week is a slog. But what makes it all worthwhile is this stage of the process, where you get to engage with readers. People follow me on Facebook, send me messages on Twitter. I always reply, and they can sign up to my newsletter and have a direct contact with me that way. And there is nothing more pleasurable than hearing from people what they enjoyed, how much they enjoyed it. And someone wrote to me the other day from my newsletter list, and she said, I enjoyed it so much, the last book so much, that I was eking out each chapter like a piece of chocolate a night.
Yeah, I can't do that. No. I fly through your books. There's no holding that back.
I was so chuffed with that. It was lovely. Yeah.
That takes some restraint. I do. I have a kind of a system where I think, right, I'm not going to read the blurb. I'm not going to pick it up and start the you know, the first chapter and just see how I get on with it. I have to read in order for the interviews, because when I make the mistake of picking up a book and going, you know, and just thinking, I'll just have a look, I read the full thing. There's no, and then I'm out of order and I have to try and remember things. And if I've just got into a book and flown through it, I've not written any questions.
Absolutely. No, I can see that'd be tough.
The restraint of that woman is admirable.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I wanted to talk about is I signed up for your newsletter for walking tours. I'm determined. I'm coming to London. We're going to do a walking tour. Can't wait. Don't know when it's going to be. Probably next year now. But we're going to talk a little bit about that. So tell us what you get up to and how it's relevant in any way.
Yeah. So I used to be, I still am occasionally a TV producer. I haven't completely shut up shop, making documentaries on art, science, and history. And the subject I always loved the most was the history things I did. So it was like, you know, search for Cleopatra's tomb kind of thing, Shakespeare's last days. Has his head been stolen from his grave? There's a lot of graves, funny enough. And I did less and less TV as I did more writing, because I didn't have time. But that meant, as I say, that you're sitting staring at a screen a lot of your week, and that is very, very wearing and grim. And, you know, especially in the winter, you sort of go, oh, it's getting dark. Is it gin o'clock yet? You know, you can get into very bad habits as an author. So I thought, okay, I need something that gets me out of the house. And I heard about the City of London guiding course. So the City of London being not the big city, but the old city, the 2,000-year-old city of London that was once bounded by the Roman wall, founded in 43 AD. I could go on, but and the oldest self-governing commune in the world. So I loved the idea of this little central place that had its heyday in the Saxon and medieval periods that I find the most fascinating. And I thought, yeah, so I did the course, passed it, thank God, got my glittery badge from the Lord Mayor, which is pretty cool. And now very much as a kind of hobby, it's not really a massive income stream, but it gets me out of the house, and I go and take lovely, like-minded people who are interested in history on tours around London. And it might be the most popular one actually is called Troublesome Women, which is about the women of the city who might not have been mentioned much in history, the ordinary women. And that people really seem to love that. I also do one on booze. Londoners are big drinkers and have been since Saxon times. Crime and punishment, of course I do. Body snatching.
Troublesome Women, booze, crime and punishment. Why am I not already there?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say, why am I not surprised? Knowing me. But
Never.
Yeah. So, I'm not doing like boring lists of dates and kings and queens. I'm doing like, I hope, stuff that really engages people, and it's full of anecdote and, pub facts, really, things that people never knew. So yeah, it's good. It's good fun. And like I say, I just sometimes have to put the book aside and go, oh, I've got to research, like I was today. I've got to research a medieval walk for a team of city solicitors tomorrow. So it makes me put it aside, and I will go out tomorrow morning and walk the route and check it all out. So it's good. I get my steps in.
So people can literally commission the walk that they want from you?
They can. I mean, that's obviously much more expensive because you've got to,
research, and
you've got to do research, and you've got to plan a route, a different kind of route, depending where they want to go. So those, the private walks are dearer, but the people who come individually, it's like 16 quid and a discount if you're on the newsletter.
Which I am, because I'm very wise.
Which you might get a freebie, Sam.
No freebies. We've got to pay our way. We've already done 40 minutes, and I'm looking at my notes, and I've got to tell you, my favourite line in this is from Professor Arculus to Jason. And you wrote, a heroic disregard for life lengthening measures is going to be Jason's epitaph, and that just made me laugh so much. Do you remember writing that?
I do remember writing it. It's when Jason is looking over Professor Arculus's shoulder at someone he's doing a post-mortem on, and the guy has died. I won't go into detail of how he's died, but he's died during an exercise session. And Jason goes, there you go. I told you, when I go, I want to be sat on my couch drinking Jack Daniels and smoking Rothmans. And that's when Arculus says, yes, Jason, on your death certificate will be heroic disregard for life-lengthening measures. And I'm really glad you got a giggle out of that, because there's nothing I like more than making people laugh, because these are not gloomy books.
They're not gloomy books. I laughed a lot.
I was really pleased that Anne Cleeves read the latest book, who's, a heroine, Vera, Shetland, my kind of books, my kind of TV as well. Great characters, great settings, very compelling stuff, and not just plot. And she said witty, entertaining, and fascinating characters. And I thought, job done, fantastic. Really pleased. But yeah, I love people getting a laugh out of it. And of course, Mortuary, it can't be all doom and gloom. People have to lighten the mood by having jokes, but not at the expense of the dead. Not in Cass's Mortuary, anyway.
That's what I was going to say. That is a really nice balance that you have, because I like the fact that they call people out on their behaviour. We're not wandering around talking about stiffs these days. It's just, it's beyond rude. It's not just rude. There is a line to where the banter should go, and you're right, it should never be about the person in front of them. But you handle that beautifully as well.
Thank you.
to take that a bit further, one of the things that I wrote was that there's a bit where you have Phillida Flight. She calls herself out on her opinion. Her opinion of Streaky changes throughout the book. You know, when she first meets him, she thinks he's a bit of an old sexist and, you know, all that kind of thing. But actually, she learns that that she's prejudged him. You know, she's thinking about all of these prejudices and sexism and homophobia.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, especially in the world of social media, echo chambers, people take up opposing opinions very aggressively and in a very, very short tweet. So I don't know how you're supposed to understand complex issues in a short tweet, but they're basically, you're on that side of the debate, I'm on the other side, never the twain shall meet, I don't want to talk to you. And yeah, you're being, if you're trying to call someone out or kind of be puritanical about the stuff they're saying, you're being just as prejudiced as they are. And maybe you should, you know, look at your own behavior first, and take people as you find them, really.
Yeah, I like that. I like the fact that you have your characters call themselves out as well as other people, because we should all be doing that all of the time. I mean, I don't think you can walk down the street and call out everyone who says something that you disagree with or that is outdated, you know. There is a certain way
if you look, there's too much prejudice that goes like, that bloke looks a certain way, he's a middle-aged white bloke with he's dressed a certain way, he's going to be a sexist pig. Not necessarily, no. You know?
No, absolutely. Excuse me.
Well, I'm glad you like Streaky, because he's actually he's a character who appeared in my first series about the Polish detective. And I just thought, well, why not? Why can't he come back as a DI who's flown into the investigation that eventually happens into this singer's death? And I was always very fond of Streaky, and he's a fund of humour. You know, he makes you laugh. So
yeah,
I was very pleased to have him as a bit of light relief as well.
Yeah, you definitely need light relief, but like you say, your books, they're not dark in that way. They are much, much lighter.
Yeah,
we're not talking cozy. Just for anyone watching, we're not saying this is a cozy crime. It really isn't.
Well, funny enough, my agent says your books are sort of cozy crime, aren't they? Yeah, if a book about a Camden goth girl in a, you know, who cuts open bodies for a living could be called cozy, then. But yeah, there's a certain what is nice about cozy crime is that people are treated, characters are treated with sort of affection and not judgment, no rush to judgment, you know, except for the total villains, of course.
Of course.
And that's, you know, most people do rub along with each other, get on, and that's something I like to see reproduced in books. Obviously, drama comes from conflict, but the conflict doesn't have to be very grim. And as to darkness, people might assume that if you're talking about evisceration and stuff like that, organs, it's going to be horrible. But everyone who's read the books has said it's so matter of fact and so informative.
Yeah,
it's certainly not played for squeamish. You know, I'm really aware that people might be squeamish about certain things, so I avoid those things. You know, just try to inform as well as entertain. Yeah, so it's much, much, much less gruesome than, say, some kind of serial killer book, which dwells on pain and violence and so forth.
I think this goes back to what we were saying about Cassie talking to the guests. That when there's so many layers to that, just as a thing, because yes, it's taking kind of a sting out of a scene, and yes, it's showing this nature of Cassie's, that she's a really caring person, you know, and she's really respectful, but also it's a really clever way of you imparting medical knowledge to the reader without it seeming like a textbook. And it's very, very clever, Ali.
Thank you. That's very kind, because I suppose coming from a background in documentaries, you know, that's not a bad training, because
Mm.
sometimes in science or history documentaries, you're doing like very, very tough subjects. And the last thing you want to do is it come across like a lesson at school. So maybe I had a little bit of training in that, and an experience of researching something and then going like, well, I'm an ordinary person reading about, you know, some heart condition, or what happens when you have an air embolism, literally what happens inside your body and how an air embolism could kill you. And because I'm not a medical person, but I've done a lot of research, I'm able to kind of get inside that scene, I hope, and make it entertaining, make it easy to read and fascinating without, you know, people feeling like, oh, this is too head clutchy. I don't really want to know about this.
It's quite funny that, because when I was reading it, I wasn't thinking of it in terms of, oh, this is going to be great for a question, this is going to be a nice thing to talk about. It was after I'd read it, I kind of was thinking back on, obviously you make notes when you're reading of different things, but it was when I sat back and thought about the book afterwards, I thought that's a really clever thing, because I wasn't thinking about that at the time, and that just shows how clever it is. I wasn't thinking this is a really good way of doing this, of showing the reader something.
Right. No, the last thing you want is for the reader to get bogged down in like, oh, I'm getting an anatomy lesson now. It has to be, you know, it has to be under the radar. It has to be part of the story. You have to think, I'm hearing about this because it's critical to the story, or to what's going to happen at the end of the scene, what's going to happen, because many of the things that Cassie's picking up are not to do with murder.
Yeah.
But they're to do perhaps with the pathologist might do his post-mortem and say cause of death unascertained, as very common, because they, you know, it's not black and white. They don't know very often. And sometimes Cassie can make the difference between knowing how your loved one died and not ever knowing. And that is, you know, one of her main, she's not going around solving 3 murders a week. Mainly, she's like really keen to find out, did that person die by suicide? Did that person, or did that person have some other medical thing going on? So it's as much the medical details she's picking up on and then going away and researching. And I suppose what's assisted me is that if I hadn't gone into journalism and TV, I probably would have done medicine, because I was always fascinated by anatomy and a bit of a spod in biology. And so I, just like Cassie does in the book, I had a copy of Gray's Anatomy that I got from a jumble sale when I was about 12. I don't know what my mum and dad thought of that. I don't remember, but you know, I loved and I learned the names of every major bone in the human body about that age. So yeah, a little bit weird.
So this has been the writing on the wall for a long time.
A little bit like Cassie, but I have never eviscerated a Barbie doll. Honest.
Of all the things that I thought were going to come out of your mouth then, Ali, that wasn't it.
Yeah, she's given a Barbie by someone, and Barbie's really not her cup of tea. But what she's interested in is what's inside, and she finds that Barbie's just as empty on the inside as she is on the outside.
I love that. I think that I should have that tattooed on me somewhere. One of the things that you touch on in the more than touch on in the book is suicide in relation, and suicide or murder. In, you know, we're really not sure what happened with Bronte in the beginning, but there's the religious aspect and what that will mean for her remains.
Yeah,
you know, and that that's really beautifully written as well. That is such a delicate thing. It's such a difficult topic, I suppose, because the rules that were made such a long time ago, and you're going to have some people who are devout and believe things should remain, you know, very purist. You're going to have people who think, well, the world's moved on, and then you're going to have everything in between. And you managed to kind of discuss all of that in a few lines in the pages of a crime fiction book. I mean, you really go in.
Yeah, I do go in I go all in, don't I?
You do.
Again, I mean, I suppose, you know, I've been around a while, and I used to work on a TV program called Heart of the Matter with Joan Bakewell. And we did, and it was almost, I didn't go to university. I did journalism college, but working on Heart of the Matter with Joan for 3 years, it was a program about moral, ethical, and religious dilemmas. And so I could find myself talking to a professor of physics one day and the Bishop of Liverpool the next, about sort of really head-clutching philosophical subjects. So yeah, we did a lot on religion, and I was fascinated by it, by the difference between Catholics and Orthodox and Protestants and how those splits had come about. So yeah, I managed to kind of drag stuff out of every part of my life to go into the books. And of course I did my research to find out that if you've committed suicide, or that's not the way they say it now, if you've taken your own life, then my understanding is that if you go to a strict Greek Orthodox church, then you won't be buried in the churchyard, which is something that went away a long time ago in certainly in the Protestant churches. But yeah, all fascinating stuff that all this goes on, these little bits of conflict go on. And Camden, again, is brilliant for that, because it's got everything. It's got Muslims, it's got Greek Orthodox, it's got Turks, it's got Irish working class from way back, and it's got posh new people who are the only ones who can afford a flat for £1 million. So yeah, I love all that.
Love the idea of living in London. No, it's not happening. I asked my husband a while ago, kind of, once all the kids grow up and move out, maybe we could kind of go to London, just do like a year. How close do you think we could afford to move? He was like, where we are now in Manchester. That's as close as we're getting.
Yeah. Well, you're getting a fantastic city life in Manchester, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't explore it enough. It's a shame.
And much more proximity to countryside.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We have only got 5 minutes left, and I've got so many questions. Let's talk about the 9 languages that your books are published in.
10.
10. Congratulations.
Don't ask me to remember them all. But I do know that one of them is Estonian, because I was very thrilled to find out that the Cassie books have made the bestseller list in Estonia.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we haven't quite troubled the UK bestseller list yet, but you have to
get there.
You have to sell a ton more books. Yeah, exactly.
We'll get there, like I've got anything to do with this brilliant series.
It's like
they're cheering you on.
With a series, with a kind of one-off book with a high concept, with a massive plot twist or whatever, those things can go straight to number 1. With series, I mean, one of my heroines is Ellie Griffiths, aka Dominica De La Rosa, who's a friend now, wonderful woman. She writes the most fantastic series, and she just says you just keep on plugging on, and eventually they take off. Ian Rankin's books, comforting to know that it was only book number 5 that finally broke out and made serious numbers. So yeah, it's good. And I can reveal that the books have been optioned for television.
Congratulations.
So, for people who don't know, an option means that an independent production company comes to you and says, we want the right to make this series. And that means you can't sell the rights to anyone else, but it doesn't guarantee they get on screen, because there's then an equally long process where they hire a screenwriter, do a treatment, take it out to various broadcasters, and only then, if the broadcaster says, yes, we love this script, we love these books, does the thing get made. And it's thought to be a kind of 1 in 20 chance from being optioned to getting onto the screen.
Wow.
But my agent says my chances are higher than that, because can't say who, but the independent production company who've optioned them is highly influential and highly regarded. So
These are the words you want, aren't they? Highly influential, highly regarded.
Yeah.
That's
So
what
you
you
never
want
know.
attached to your project.
We might see Cassie on screen.
I would absolutely love to see Cassie on screen.
Yeah.
Cassie and Flight on screen. Amazing.
Yeah.
Would love that. We have got 2 minutes. Do you want to give us? I mean, I said, didn't I? I've got 3 pages of questions. There are things that we talked about beforehand. We could do another hour, but sadly, you've got your tea to have. So
I've got pizza, ready to go in the oven right now.
So give us a reminder of the series and obviously of Deadfall and what people need to go and read. And is there going to be a book 5?
I can't say that yet.
Okay, we'll move on. Just tell us about these 4.
It's in the ether, yeah. So 4 books. First book is Body Language. Then there's Life Sentence, Case Sensitive, and the latest one, Flash That Again, Deadfall.
Excellent titles.
They've had, I'm pleased to say, they've had quite brilliant reviews. The one that I features on the cover here is from The Guardian saying this series is not to be missed. That was a very happy day when
and
that
who
happened.
said that?
The Guardian.
Oh, The Guardian. No, there's one. There's a quote. Where is it actually from? Ellie, aka. Oh, saying I love this series from Ellie Griffiths.
That's right, Ellie. That's from the first book that she read.
A fabulously one-of-a-kind protagonist from Heat magazine.
Yeah. No, Heat really love it as well. So
clearly, people who know what they're doing.
What else can I tell you? Really? I think. I mean, the books can be read in any order. So if one of the other books is on offer, you might want to start with that, or you might want the shiny new one because you see it in Tesco or you fancy the look of it. Nothing, it's not going to be a disaster to read them out of order. So there's that to know. I didn't finish answering your question about the foreign stuff. So
you didn't. Okay, let's go. So we've got
only just briefly. I just remembered that I didn't really answer it other than to make a joke about poor old Estonia, which I'm really grateful to Estonia. But the really strange thing is that I've had 2 joint deals. So sometimes you get a joint deal when the language is the same, but it's 2 different countries. One of them was Ukraine and Russia. Yeah. And so I
generally try not to pull faces when we're talking about anything, but that one took me by surprise. So I apologise.
That's quite one, isn't it? And so obviously, it didn't happen in the end. But I said to my agent, look, if we get any royalties from Russia, they're getting sent to Ukraine, or get any advance from Russia, that's going to Ukraine. And then most recently, we got something the agent says is really, really unusual to get a deal with China, but double deal with Taiwan. Okay. So kind of weird. So anyway, it's rather lovely to be published from, the Netherlands to China. Very pleased about that.
I've just had a comment from Donna that says, thanks for the chat. These sound right up my street. So we'll check book 1 out after this. Donna, top of the pile. Pile.
Really, really pleased. Really pleased. Yeah. And, why not start with book 1 if that's what you fancy?
I'd start with book 1. You're right. Every individual case is an individual case. And it's mainly just more the relationships between the ongoing characters, shall we say, that might, but I still don't think it'd be kind of jarring out of order.
No. I
think if you read book 4 now and then suddenly went to book 2, for example, I think you'd be like, oh, that's how that, okay. And I think that'd be a fun thing.
I think what happens generally is that people read, their eyes caught by the latest book, and then hopefully they like it enough, and then they go like, I'm going to go right back to the beginning of this series and start at the beginning. And that's a rather lovely way to do it. And we do have these kind of it's quite fashionable now, isn't it, to have origin stories?
Yeah.
Like Endeavour for Morse and all the rest of it. So I think people are quite used to the idea of, I'm going to read this one and then I'm going to go and find out how she got to there. I remember, oh God, I'm going to forget his name now. Who's that? Who writes Dave Robichaud, the American Florida Swamps? James somebody.
Somebody is going to tell us.
Somebody's
Somebody's Googling frantically right now.
Anyway, they're the most fantastic books. And again, I've been banging on about setting. They've got the most amazing setting and the most wonderful characters. And I started reading like book. He's written like a dozen more. And I started reading like book 10 or something, and then went, wow, these are great. And I've kind of read them out of order, because I now know, yes, that happened in book 2, but they do stand alone. So I think it is possible.
Yeah, absolutely possible. Thank you so much. Congratulations. So when is Deadfall actually out?
Thursday.
Yeah. So 17th, 18th?
18th, yeah. The 18th is when they should be available in Tesco, we know about.
Amazing.
Who knows? I'm not up with whichever other store they're in, but there's always good old Amazon, and there's always ordering from bookshops online and so forth.
And if you can, please support an indie bookshop. Do you have an indie bookshop in particular in mind?
Well, I've got a very soft spot for Nomad Books in Fulham, who also do post, they'll post books out, because they have hosted, I have a little launch bash for, publisher and friends and family, really. And they have hosted that 3 times now. So, and it's quite hard to find bookshops who'll do it. So if you do it at Daunts, they say you have to guarantee 100 people.
Wow.
Buying books. And Waterstones, it's not as easy as it sounds. So yeah, again,
you've got a lot of competition, so finding a good indie bookshop that you can build a relationship with is great advice for
it's
new
really
authors.
really nice. And you know what, I would also say that if you don't want to spend, books are quite expensive, getting quite expensive now, and if you don't want to buy it, then get it from the library, because we get quite significant royalty from every library lend. Paid my gas bill in the winter.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to start with next time, libraries.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ali. Thank you to everyone who's watched and asked questions.
Yeah.
And I hope you'll come back for the next book, because I just love chatting with you.
All right, darling.
Congratulations and best of luck.
Thank you. Bye.
And we are off.